Hello everyone and welcome back to Captcha. I'm Ansi.
I'm Paco.
As you may know, Captcha is a design festival organized by students from the University of Applied Science in Mannheim. This year's team consists of Paco, Cosima, Alicia, Johanna, Marlene and me. The festival first started in 2014 with the idea to organize a festival consisting of workshops and talks held by professional designers. Created for anyone interested in learning and exploring new topics and ideas, but most importantly, to connect with one another.
And now we will show you a small recap of Captcha 2020, which was also held online. So enjoy!
This year's topic is Onward, with the idea to continue the Captcha journey to learn from and with each other.
The pandemic made us reflect on a lot of things. We have to improvise, and we realize the importance of trying new things. Onward doesn't mean to forget about the past, but to seize new opportunities and to be open to new ways of thinking. With this in mind, we reached out to 3 designers who embrace this mindset, and we hope to learn a little bit more about their work in their workshops. So coming next, the designers team, Nadine and Nam, will present themselves and their workshops.
Then we will have a short break. At 1 p.m. we will hear Bileam, aka Elekktronaut, talk about new technologies, art and mindfulness. And finally, at 2 a.m. the workshops will start.
And remember, we still have our open call, so you can send us your submission. And now we will pass on to Tim. Enjoy!
Ja, ihr müsst mir sagen, wann ich loslegen soll. Ich bin jetzt schon live. Wow, kann man mich schon sehen, aber ich gucke hier gerade in den Stream. Ich sehe mich noch nicht. Warte, vielleicht komme ich jetzt. Alright, okay. Nice. Hello, everyone. It's amazing to be here. Thank you so much for the invitation. It's a great pleasure for me to be at Captcha Festival. And I think this is a wonderful, this is a wonderful thing. I love design festivals, and I especially love people who, even though Corona is, let's say, making things very, very complicated, that just do the whole effort and organize a festival like this. It's amazing. Yeah, so I'm Tim Rodenbrücker, and I am a creative coder. Basically, I'm an educator, designer, and creative coder, and I teach young creatives to code. Right, I have the problem that I just hear myself twice here in the audio. Okay, perfect. And so in the last 4 years, I've been giving about 9 seminars or 9 courses in design universities in Germany, very several locations. And I also taught or I conducted some workshops in places all around Europe. And my topic is creative coding. So I empower young creators by teaching creative coding and computational thinking. And I've just discovered some problems, because learning to program is very, very hard, right? So it's very difficult to get onboarded for that topic, because, finding a way through the initial learning process is a huge difficulty for my students. And I've decided to tell my students the following. I think there are some bad news for people who want to program. I can't teach you how to program, but you can teach yourself how to program. And there are some very, very powerful tools that you can use to, let's say, master the initial process to get onboarded for that topic. And one of those tools is a creativity technique that I use since many, many years. It is very inspired through a book that I found around 2010. It's called Nea Machina by Thomas and Martin Poschauko. And it basically, tells people how to get creative with very simple elements, how to explore new ideas through experimentation and through combining things in a new way. And I just created kind of a remix of their creativity technique, and I call this technique the magic triangle. And in my workshop, I want to teach you guys to apply the magic triangle for your creative work, to use it to explore new territories that you've never been in. And yeah, I think this is a super powerful thing. I showed that technique to many of my friends, and they use it successfully since a long time. And I think, this is very, very beneficial for you. So especially if you want to dive into a new territory of something that is very, very strange, you need something like a framework, something like, boundaries, some rules that you can apply or that you can create to not get lost in so many different possibilities. And I think the magic triangle is a technique that solves exactly that problem. So basically, it's super, super simple. It's basically nothing else than a set of 3 parameters that you set for a project. For example, in our workshop, we will work with the first parameter is use only circle, triangle, and lines, right? So these basic geometric shapes. Use only a specific color set that we will design together. So this will be a collaborative set of colors that we will create, and use a very powerful programming language called processing, which is the language I picked for my teaching. It's super, super cool because it just basically forces you to work with the very fundamental concepts of programming without confronting you with too many aspects that are hard to understand in the beginning. So from my point of view, processing is the perfect programming language to get onboarded and started. And basically that's what we will do in this workshop. So I hope to onboard the participants of my workshop for creative coding through the magic triangle. I'm not really sure if it works. I guess some will have difficulties. I'm very sure that most of you will be successful with that. I hope so. And I think even though programming is not really for everyone, but even though if some of you have the feeling, okay, that you don't fall in love with writing code, that's totally fine, because the magic triangle is applicable to anything that you find in design and art. So I think it's a super powerful creativity technique. Later on, we will apply the magic triangle and implement a system in processing that basically creates, or is an algorithm that creates many variations of one visual. So that means we will apply the magic triangle one-to-one into code, right? We will implement the magic triangle that we've just created into code. And I think that is hopefully a key learning moment for you when you see that programming with processing or creative coding is basically a way to implement flexible visual systems. And I use this term because my friend Martin Lorenz just releases his book about flexible visual systems very soon in the Slanted Publisher or at Slanted Publishers. And we are kind of merging our styles, how we teach at the moment. So this is what we will do in this workshop. And to be honest, I don't have too much to say anymore. Maybe one more thing, we will use my website, which is an online learning platform for creative coding. There you will find many, many resources. You will find courses and tutorials for many different subjects, especially for the beginners. You will basically find answers for probably every question you have. And we will also use the Discord server to communicate with each other. And I'm very excited to try out Kumo Space and see how, this new technology works and what kind of benefits it brings. I'm a little bit skeptical about it at the moment, but maybe this will change over time. I don't know. Yeah. So that's it. I think I don't have too much to say anymore. Oh, I'm very much looking forward for the workshop. I'm really looking forward to see you and excited to see all the participants.
Thank you, Tim, so much for all your insights. And we are really looking forward for your workshop. And next up is Nam. Might take a while. Yeah. We have a little technical difficulties, but we are about to figure it out, so don't worry.
Yeah, so maybe we can already see who's on the live stream today. For some reason I can see it right now, but let's see if I can figure it out. Yeah. Okay.
Nice.
Now we see you.
Okay, so we already have some people texting us hello. Hey back.
Hey back.
Welcome everyone. This is really exciting. And we're still trying to get Nam onto the screen. Hey Habu. Oh, Tim, can you write the name of the book? Okay.
Yeah, so which are you already, I mean, the ones who are looking the live stream, are you in a workshop, or are you just like watching
Live stream.
the live stream? Maybe you can write in the comments, and if you are in a workshop, maybe write in which one.
To get connected.
Yeah.
Okay, it should work soon.
Yeah.
We are all new to this, so.
Okay.
3, 2, 1.
Hi. So, first, thanks to Tim for his little talk, and also I would like to thanks to the Captcha Design Festival team for inviting and giving me the opportunity to hold a workshop in here. I am Nam Huynh. I'm a graphic designer from Stuttgart, Germany, and well, I since my graduation in 2017 from the State Academy of Fine Arts in Stuttgart, I've been trying to improvise myself in creating strong visual impressions, I would say. I've created a small presentation for you and would like to bomb you with a lot of work that I've done in the past. It's big mix between typography, 3D images, and so if you ask me about what my special field of interest is, I'd rather call myself a master of none. So maybe not really good in anything, but what keeps me going is have a lot of variety and trying different things all the time. Maybe sometimes put myself in a situation where maybe I'm not sure if I'm the best guy suited for it, but on the other side, it helps me a lot to learn new things and like improvise in a new different situation. So in the end, so what I like to put my focus on the most, as I said, is to create a strong impression. In German, we have a word for it, which I would say is plakativ. And in English, you might have to translate it into like my design. I like my design to be striking or bold. So, which means that I really like to like emphasize whatever I want to say. If it needs to be soft, then I try to keep it like really soft, maybe as a marshmallow. But if it needs to be aggressive, then I really like to like put myself into it to yeah, like not to repeat myself, but trying to figure out like what can I do to um, create something more and unique. As I've said, I do a lot of things. Something that I really like to do is poster design. So these are collaborations with my friend and partner Mark Brole. As you can see, our poster works don't really focus on maybe a clear message. These are commissioned by the team of ODAS, which is a student team in Stuttgart, Ludwigsburg, who create events for artists and people from the theater and give them a platform to interchange ideas. And when they asked us to design posters for them, we told them, okay, we do it if you give us like full freedom, so we can consider these jobs as some kind of design research. And so these works that you see are something like really private for us. Like we try to really challenge each other and like not submit anything until like both of us are like really content with the result, and we're sure that it's something that at least both of us have never seen before. And yeah, and so this is something that I really like about poster design. I've also put in some bigger projects. For example, this is another collaboration with Parat CC. I, in general, really like to collaborate with people because it helps me to like get out of my routine, which I said I really like, of course, to interchange and learn from each other. And yeah, it always keeps my work interesting. So this is a commission by the Museum Brandhorst in Munich, Germany, and in 2019 they have we won a pitch to create a design for their 10-year anniversary. So the Museum Brandhorst is a museum that is part of one of the most important art museums in Europe, and it contains a lot of pop art, artists like Cy Twombly, Andy Warhol, Keith Haring, etc. And so our idea was to say that, okay, so 10 years, 10 years is a nice anniversary. It might be long, maybe if you're maybe a restaurant or maybe a small business, but if you're a big museum competing with other big museums, then actually 10 years is not that long. Actually 10 years is at most, it's your sweet 16. So, and if you're still young, then you really like to like not get on maybe a suit, but you want to yeah, like be wild and colorful and change yourself all the time. So what we did, instead of creating one key visual, we developed this slogan "Forever Young," which is from this famous song of Alphaville. And we create like multiple typefaces for the sentence, for the slogan "Forever Young," and all over Munich you could see it and read it, and in different typefaces. So you would always be confronted with the campaign, but at the same time, always with different artworks, which we try to like design designated to one of the specific artists that they were featuring this year. Yeah. This is another project that I've done with Studio Teleknöll and the architecture office, Sputz and Partner. This was a pavilion commissioned by the city of Heilbronn and the Federal Horticulture Show Germany. And what they wanted, it was a pavilion that would function as a place for the citizens of Heilbronn, as a place to rest for the people who live nearby or work nearby, like to just hang around, and at the same time for tourists as a place that would present you the city of Heilbronn and show you what the city has to offer. And so we created this this multimedia campaign that consisted of 20 monitors, 10 swings, and a mirrored roof and projectors and so on. And we wanted to get away from like a classic screen that you would watch or don't, maybe mostly don't. So this is why we came with something different. But we wanted to create into an experience where you can maybe pay attention to, but not necessarily, and just also hang around if you want to. And this is from the backside. So the idea was to, whenever you go to, you would always get a new experience. You would always see new content, and also depending on the time. For example, this from was at nighttime. Then we would activate the projectors, and yeah, it would be more than just information, but about a unique experience. And I also have a small outcut of some of the content that we've created for the swings. In this case, it's a abstract impression of the featured flowers, I would say. Something next is a small work from me and Mark. Something like we like to do is if we have a funny idea and have some time, then yeah, we like to also do free stuff. This was an idea of our interpretation of the computer or the laptop as a tool. Sometimes when we work together, we rather try not to maybe see it as a tool, but maybe more as a toy or an instrument, which means that if you give me a toy or an instrument, then, or like, for example, a piano, then it I really love to like start to click on the buttons, see what, because of the direct feedback, to see what happens and somehow try to, yeah, wake the inner child in us to be more creative and playful. So this is why we've created this interpretation of I think the most important tool nowadays. To the last project it's also the bridge to my workshop. So as I said, what I want to like to teach you is to how to create a strong visual impression. And last year, like directly before Corona came to Europe, Mark and me were commissioned by Puma to create visuals for a music festival, which hosted like really young and cool Spanish artists, and also promoting the shoe, of course. And what we did is we were not very fond of the shoe. So what we did instead, we did another reinterpretation of it. And we saw that the elements of it were like a little bit designed like you would maybe design a Lego brick, so you can see the small parts that it consisted of. And so what we did is we tried to deconstruct it even more and create a new, maybe more interesting object, something that you couldn't or wouldn't wear, but at least something maybe you intrigued to look at. Here is oh, the sound is.
Jugamos con lo que nos gusta para crear nuestra propia historia.
Yeah. So what I would like to do with you is create a small shoe collection, and by doing so, trying to figure out how to how to emphasize something, because the shoe as an object is something that is like very how can I say, everybody already has an image of a shoe. We know what it needs to work as a shoe, and that's it. It's not like a blank poster. So by just changing small things, you can already create an impression that makes it more unique. And I want to go with you like full on and try to like really get abstract and in a humorous way and creative way. And this way maybe also try to get you to break your own routines. So far that's it for me. That's my workshop. I have more content later for the participants. I'm also already looking forward to meet you, and see you later then.
Okay, thank you, Nam. Those were some very, very interesting projects, and we're looking forward for your workshop as well. And next up is Nadine with a really cool background, I can see. So, yeah, Nadine, you're welcome.
Oh, I think Nadine, you have to wait just a second. It takes a little to switch the screens. 1 second. Oh, hello, Jonas.
Hello,
Hello,
Jonas.
Sandra.
Hello, Sandra.
Hola, chicos.
Yeah, thanks for stopping by.
Okay, you still have to wait, Nadine. Sorry.
Okay, just give me a green light.
Yeah.
Somehow the sound is a bit delayed for me, so yeah. Maybe you have to give me a hand sign or something.
Mhm. Oh, we have already 29 people watching.
Almost 30, yeah.
That's awesome. Hello, everyone.
Yeah, thank you for joining.
Okay.
Okay, Nadine, you are on.
Right, perfect. Can you hear me? I hope it's okay. Thumbs up for that? Yeah, perfect. Yeah, so hello and welcome to my part of the presentation. I joined a bit later because I've been at the dentist and it took a bit longer, so bear with me. But thanks for tuning in. And kind of my work is about creating your own worlds, especially with augmented reality. And this is also what we will be doing during the workshop. So I will give you a small view of what has been happening so far. So my background is actually illustration, and I studied at HFG in Offenbach with Eike König. But as you can see here, I felt really limited from the format of the paper. Everyone is trying to break out of this A4 size, and I had the feeling I really need space for my work. So I added installation to my workflow to kind of opening up a room and be able to invite people into it. And this is a work which I did during my creative residency with Adobe. Some of you might have seen my talk 2 years ago, actually the pre-COVID Captcha was really a milestone for me. Also, I met really lovely friends, and yeah, I was presenting some of those slides to give you an impression where I'm coming from. And the creative residency is actually a paid position within Adobe, and it used to be 2 seats for Germany, but since the COVID situation is difficult for traveling, it is gone now. But for 1 year, you could fulfill a hard project. And I was so amazed by how people would react and play with my worlds or the displays I was building, that I thought I want to do that everywhere, take that with me on the train and be able to do it in a more sustainable and approachable way. So I pitched to them to learn augmented reality from scratch, to have this connection and to really transit from creating images to creating experiences. And this will also be something we will take a look upon. Yeah, and I tried in the first beginnings to include some more virtual worlds using projection, but 3D and augmented reality really turned the game for me. So this is kind of what we will be focusing on after this small recap. Yeah, you can really dive into endless possibilities, and that's maybe the key point. So you can control weather, material, movement. It's kind of like a godlike position, which is really an advantage. And there are different kinds of augmented reality. Maybe you know some of them already. One is an image tracking technology, which is kind of recognizing an image, and you can implant, you can place an animation or a 3D moment, even sound, videos there, and bring it to life. So this is kind of this Harry Potter magic of the images having their own life. This is one way you can work with this. And this is a billboard in Frankfurt, actually, and people can play it over a QR code as face filter. But also AR is maybe the technology which is moving and evolving the quickest. Those have been my very first starts together with Sogendo. And this was 2018. So I started 2018 in October, I think, working with augmented reality. And back then, you really had to program your own app and work with Unity and Vuforia. It was very complex and expensive. So to be able to transit your ideas into AR and make it an experience for others was not that easy. And that changed a lot. So it's so approachable and accessible now that you will have fun, hopefully, to create your own worlds. And also what I think is interesting, not to only focus on AR as face filter, I'm also a face filter creator for Spark and Snap, but there is more you can do also within that realm or in that universe. For example, here I made kind of like a watch, so you can have that on your Apple Watch, for example, or as a wristband image, and then it's popping out as a clock. And also with face filters, you can reprogram them. So here I was creating a virtual spray can for Montana cans. It's a spray can producer. And this was made as a face filter because I thought it's really nice to have the social media with it and kind of hack what is possible there, and also give some empowerment back to the community that you're not a passive person taking a look at an image, but you can really make it our own or play with it as own experience. Also, I'm teaching at HFG Offenbach, Hochschule für Gestaltung in Offenbach, for contemporary illustration. And during lockdown, I had the idea to have my class completely in Animal Crossing. So we met on the islands and we were working in-game, having all the seminars in-game. And the final show was also an Instagram filter built together with my friend Hongwei Tang. And you can kind of place the exhibition hall on your table, scale it up, and take a walk in it. And yeah, it has a own architecture to it. So it's kind of this Polly Pocket or a Dragon Ball capsule moment where you just throw it out there and you can go inside and have your own reality or version to that. Yeah, so I'm very interested in those new formats. And it's really nice actually to not be an expert. So I think in my workshop that there will be really beginners and newbies with AR, because this is the moment when you were finding kind of weird ways towards things, and maybe you found actually a new approach to something, because it is so new that there is no best practice, so to say. So it's the moment where you can really develop. And as we will be focusing on worlds, like world creation, but also the inhabitants, like the people or characters living there. Will be also nice that one part of my workshop will be to animate and have those small characters. Yeah, and really have the feeling of transitioning your work into its own cosm. And those are all made with Mixamo and Adobe Aero. And this will be also the program we will be working on or working with during my workshop. Yes. So to connect with others is really important, and also to leave your desktop space. So with AR, it can really be played in the cities. This is kind of an AR treasure hunt I was creating together with Scavenger. And this is kind of like a walk helping you to focus on your daily tasks. So it has this kind of gamey environment that you can catch points. You have to find words, kind of motivational words like get it done or something, like to really have this rhythm, and also to combine a physical with a virtual experience. So you're walking there with your body, you have to catch the items with your iPad. Those things are really interesting as well. So the possibilities are quite open. And now is actually the moment to really start working in there, and also to develop new technologies as a, how you say, pioneer, maybe? A pioneer non-expert. That would be our approach also for the workshop. Because, for example, this AR scavenger hunt is geolocated and made with app clips. It's only possible in the US so far, but you can really jump from Google Maps into the experience and directly have it approachable without any technical burden. So it's really interesting. And here's a small video. I don't know if you hear the music, but yeah. Haha. Okay, now you've seen a summary. This was a video made by Sebastian Handorf in my studio in Frankfurt. And what I really like about augmented reality is that you can kind of occupy your city and use the most popular spots or the biggest billboards or squares to really create huge, how you say, giga-dimensional installations. And this is also something for our workshop, that we will also work outside. So it's not only happening on your computers. You will be sent as small satellites to kind of swarm your cities with the worlds we will be creating. Yeah. Yeah, and the work you've seen here is called Spring Walk, and this was in spring, as you can see, and this is kind of the direction also our workshop will be aiming at, that you create your own world and also bring your characters to life and yeah, see them in your daily surrounding. You can also give them tasks. Maybe someone is a personal trainer or a motivational coach. So I think it will be interesting. Yeah, I think maybe I talked a lot, but I might quickly jump into some examples of work I've been doing over the last year, which has this kind of approach of a new digital safe space, invading our surrounding. So those are recordings from Brussels. And it's also asking the question of how digital our nature might be regarding the climatic change, and also with the pandemic, to be pushed into digital realities as a moment where we can embrace the potential here and yeah, have really to talk about that as a community, if that would be part of our future, and how we are also responsible as designers to create it. Yeah, here are some face filters I did. This is maybe less interesting. And maybe you've seen it. I've done one bigger campaign for Apple. It was the Behind the Mac campaign, and also a first for Apple to have a snap lens, which is responsive. So it's also embracing the idea of growth and like a new area kind of after the pandemic and the moment of zero. We can recreate this new normal and make it our own. And I think this is really the moment of digital technologies being something very natural to us. So everyone is more opening up into embracing those kind of weird and maybe, yeah, scary looking new possibilities as something which might feel natural, like the conference now. We're used to conference calls. It doesn't feel awkward anymore, or a bit less. And I think this is also kind of giving a preview of the future of advertisement. So in this Apple campaign, I created 4 different artworks together with the portrait, and you can play each of it as a own piece and bring it to life and kind of have this growth everywhere. So the digital reality is happening simultaneously, but it is still a bit invisible in our daily perception. And I think AR is kind of changing that and giving it a position in our actual touchable, tangible, physical world. And yeah, and I hope that you would also enjoy to create your own little worlds and maybe some inhabitants, and yeah, invite everyone into this future and the new ways of doing things. Yeah, you can also follow me. Here are my handles, and I'm very much looking forward to see making your baby steps into this new possibilities. And thank you for the invitation also to the team. I know it's a struggle to do everything online. Okay, I will stop my screen share now. I hope that's okay.
Okay, thank you very much, Nadine. That was amazing, really cool. Yeah, we're also really looking forward for your workshop.
Okay, thank you, Nadine, so much. Okay,
Yeah.
Paco.
Yeah, so we're really looking forward for your workshop and your the little worlds you create. Sounds very, very interesting. So
Yeah, it was really fun to look at all the colorful little objects. Yeah, so now we will have a little break, or a little longer break until 1 p.m. where you can eat or do whatever, and then we will back and hear Bileam, aka Elekktronaut, speak, and then at 2 the workshops will start. So see you later, and thank you all for tuning in.
Yeah, thank you.
Bye. Hello back, everyone. We are still waiting for everyone to tune in, so we'll just take a few seconds. Because right now we have 14
out of 35
Yeah.
our peak today.
Okay. I guess we can just start, because if someone missed the beginning, you can always look it up afterwards. Okay, so next up is Bileam, and we're going to hear his talk about new technologies, art, and mindfulness.
So have fun.
Have fun, yeah.
And see you guys then
Afterwards.
afterwards.
Yeah. Bye.
All right, welcome to this talk at the Captcha Design Festival. My name is Bileam, also known as Elekktronaut, and today we'll talk about new technologies, art, and mindfulness. And yeah, I want to start this by thanking the Captcha team for making this possible and for letting me talk here. I also want to preface this by 2 main things. So first off, I'm really uncomfortable being filmed, but I thought it would be nice for you to sort of see me and not just hear my voice. And the other thing is, this talk is really going to be focused or based on my experience and my opinions. So if you're not interested in that, then this talk is really not for you. This is not going to be sort of a scientific lecture, but really just my personal experience. And yeah, let's get going, right? I divided the talk into 2 parts. So the first part is really going to be about me and about my work, and sort of just so you get sort of an idea of what I'm doing. I'm going to present some projects and stuff. And part 2 is going to be more about the sort of philosophical part, where I'm going to just rant about all kinds of things, about like sort of how I see the All right, welcome to this talk at the Captcha Design Festival. My name is Bileam, also known as Elekktronaut, and today we'll talk about new technologies, art, and mindfulness. And yeah, I want to start this by thanking the Captcha team for making this possible and for letting me talk here. I also want to preface this by 2 main things. So first off, I'm really uncomfortable being filmed, but I thought it would be nice for you to sort of see me and not just hear my voice. And the other thing is, this talk is really going to be focused or based on my experience and my opinions. So if you're not interested in that, then this talk is really not for you. This is not going to be sort of a scientific lecture, but really just my personal experience. And yeah, let's get going, right? I divided the talk into 2 parts. So the first part is really going to be about me and about my work, and sort of just so you get sort of an idea of what I'm doing. I'm going to present some projects and stuff. And part 2 is going to be more about the sort of philosophical part, where I'm going to just rant about all kinds of things, about like sort of how I see the community has changed, or in what way it has changed, and also like I'm gonna present some new technologies in the sort of art scene that I'm in, that I find relevant and interesting. And also I'm going to talk about mindfulness, talk about what that is and how that fits into all of this stuff that I'm talking about. All right, so let's get going. All right, so part 1. And I'm going to start just by sort of introducing myself and tell you a bit about me, who I am. And yeah, my name is Bileam, and I'm also known as Elekktronaut on the internet, as I said in the beginning. I am 25 years old at the moment, and I'm from Berlin, Germany. So I was born and raised in Berlin, and I also studied there, and I still live here and work here. And yeah, So just so you know, my first language isn't English, so I might miss some words sometimes, and yeah. So I studied interaction design, so I sort of come from a design background more than an art background or programming background. And those, so in university, those studies were sort of mainly focused on the sort of classic design, so like photography, typography, corporate design, how to design websites and apps, and you know, UI, UX, and all that kind of stuff. So it was really more about like all the design, like about the theoretical parts, but not that much about like interactive art or programming or anything like that. And I finished the bachelor 1 year ago, so roughly 1 year ago, November 2020. And yeah, for my bachelor, I did this project called Algorithm, which I'll be talking about a bit later on. And yeah, I basically created a software for audiovisual live performances for my finals, and presented that, and also made like a thesis, of course. And yeah, now I'm a freelancer doing YouTube tutorials mostly. That's kind of my base thing that I'm doing. And I also share artworks, so just making artworks for myself and just to share for the world, you know, just doing art, like, you know, artist things, basically. So yeah, like music videos and just little sketches on Instagram and on my website. And I also have a Patreon, which is sort of how I can afford to live like this, because there's lovely people all over the globe that are like supporting me. And I'll also talk a bit about that more later on. I also give workshops, so unfortunately mostly online for now because of the whole COVID situation. But that's also a really cool thing, because I'm like meeting people from all over the world. But yeah, sort of I'm giving workshops on how to learn like Touch Designer and specific techniques and things like that. And I also give talks like this one, so that's actually been a thing that's sort of been growing lately. And I also do music as a hobby, and actually also started writing again a bit. And yeah, as a child, I did like a lot of drawing and even like handcrafting and all kinds of things, played a lot of instruments. It's all sort of been more focused on the computer now, and doing like yeah, generative art, audiovisual art, and I'll talk about that in a second. I am also a practicing meditator, so I sort of do meditation every day. I've been doing that for around 5 years, I'd say, and sort of practicing everyday mindfulness. And I'll get into all of that at the end of this talk. Right. So about my work, during uni, so like roughly 3 years ago, I became a freelancer. I sort of started doing these jobs for people more locally, and started doing the first things, like, you know, like the first things were like web and corporate design. So I made like logos and like CIs for people, and also created their websites as well as my own. So sort of like I did teach myself HTML, CSS, and all that kind of stuff when I was a teen, and also like sort of taught myself how to use like Adobe and all these kind of like graphic programs. So I, you know, in uni I learned more about that, and put that into practice, and became like a freelancer. But at some point that didn't really interest me that much anymore, and I didn't like working with those kind of clients that much. So more and more I got like interested in like art, and using the computer to actually make art and not just design, though the distinction of course is kind of hard to make. But yeah, so I completely moved to art now, and now I'm working with like musicians, with clubs, with brands, with other visual artists, other like nerds and programmers like me. And yeah, it's really interesting, because through the internet and through actually the whole COVID crisis situation, I've been more in like contact with people all over the world. So it's really interesting to be able to do that, and I really love that about my work. So what is actually how would I actually describe my work? So basically, usually what I describe my work as is audiovisual and generative art. And I'm gonna try to really try to explain these sort of terms. So audiovisual, when you look that up in the dictionary, as far as I know, that's kind of a weird description, or not really fitting to what I'm doing. So what I see audiovisuals at is it's really quite simple. So basically you have audio, you have a song, you have a track, you have a live performance of musicians or anything, and then you have a visual part that is accompanying, that is basically, just going along to these to this audio. So you have a visual content, usually in my case at least abstract, some kind of forms, colors, anything that fits to the music, that is partly reacting to the music, and or based on the music actually. So it's really sort of one thing, and basically you have a visual part and an audio part, and you just put these two together and it becomes an audiovisual. So sort of like a music video or like a live music video performance. And generative art, to name a few synonyms, would be like procedural art, computer art, algorithmic art. So basically it's a sort of art form where you're writing code, so you're actually sort of making a program with which you're creating the artwork. And every time you include, or I include, some kind of randomness. So every time you sort of run the program or the artwork, then it sort of creates a sort of theoretically unpredictable, and slightly different outcome. And generally what I describe my work as as well, just as a side note, these things, if there is no no link or anything, that these are actually all my artworks, just so you know. Usually what I describe my work as is self-taught and explorative as well. And self-taught just meaning in a way that I especially touch designer, I didn't actually I wasn't taught by anyone. I sort of just like HTML and CSS and that kind of thing. I just sort of just learned by doing, and by, of course, watching other people's tutorials, to get started and to be inspired and to learn new techniques. So I didn't learn this in uni, as I said, and I don't know. It's not like a huge thing, but I think it's kind of interesting still. And also, I often describe it as explorative. So really, it's not that much about especially sort of these abstract art that I'm making. It's not that much about perfect systems or efficiency or anything. It's really I'm just trying things out. I'm just adding stuff to my code to and I just see sort of what happens. So I often don't have a specific idea of an outcome. I just start and see what happens, and if I like it, then I go further into that direction, and if I don't, then I don't. So it's closer to painting for me than it is to, I don't know, design in a way. If that makes sense. And I'm inspired by images in my mind. So sort of also where meditation comes in, but sometimes, especially when I'm listening to music, I sometimes get these sort of visions, and then it sounds weird, but sort of these images that I then think, okay, I want to make this, I want to create this, realize this, and share it with other people. And also I'm greatly inspired by natural and organic patterns. So anything you see in nature, basically any sort of pattern you see that's being created in the physical world. So that can be the structure of a tree, or the images from the earth from above, or microscopic images, or the residue of coffee in your mug, or anything really. And all these kind of patterns and behaviors really interest me to make my art. So you might sort of see what I mean here on the right. And last but not least, of course, I'm greatly inspired by other people's work. A lot of times, a lot of stuff I learned was just to like seeing other people's work on the web and thinking, okay, I want to make this myself. How did they do it? And sometimes I succeed, and sometimes I just end up somewhere completely different. But that's also fine. And yeah, of course, I also bring that in connection to sound, because I describe my work as audiovisual. So that's kind of one part of what I do with my work at my work. And the other thing is sort of more system based, more creating like tools and UIs. I'm gonna show you one example in a second. And so on that part, it's more focused on the sort of programming and really like structuring, on focus on UX and efficiency. So it's got to run well to run in real time and all these kind of things. So it's not as much as freely experimenting like painting, but really more focused on design and efficiency. And then both things are really really fun to me. So I don't like prefer one to the other. I really love doing both. So this is all kind of talking about what I do, but you probably might think like, how the hell is he doing that, and what is he actually talking about? So let me just quickly present the tool that I'm using, which is Touch Designer. And before I discovered Touch Designer, I was working mostly with processing and also Arduino a bit, and as I said before that, even like HTML, CSS. So I sort of have a programming background as well, but it's mostly taught myself. And at some point I discovered Touch Designer. At some point I wanted to create more sophisticated live visuals and generally more sophisticated visuals. So I started learning Touch Designer, and Touch Designer is a visual programming language. So in contrast to, for example, processing or Java or C++ or something, where you actually write a code, right? You write a script with actual words, right? and whatever. And visual programming language, it's still very much a programming language, but it's you're not writing a code, but you're making a network like this one down here. So you have all these kind of operators that you're basically connecting to create an output in the end, right? So Touch Designer is really based on that, so called node based, and it enables you to also to create things from scratch, to actually generate imagery and data, but also to connect it to other software like Ableton or Unreal, or to hardware inputs like the Leap Motion and Kinect, which I also talk about a bit later on. And also you can actually expand it with code. So you have this network, this visual network, but you also can write blocks of code in there, like GLSLs. You can expand it with shaders, or Python or C++. So basically that enables you to make the thing infinite. It's crazy what you can do with it. And also Touch Designer enables you to quickly integrate audio. So that's also really important for me. It's much easier than for example, in processing, I find. And most importantly, or one part that Touch Designer is really focused on, is the real-time aspect. And that just means that everything you do in Touch Designer is happening in that very moment. So just as, everything is running in 60 FPS, in the best case, it's running. And when you change a parameter, you instantly see the output, right? You instantly see what you're doing. So it's sort of, you see what you're doing, is what I just said. Right, so just a quick example, let's say you're tracking a hand movement with a Kinect, then you can't, it's not possible to, you could record that, but if you want to have an instant sort of representation of that movement in an abstract visual way, for example, then that has to be processed at that very instant, right? So that's why Touch Designer is running in real time, and so you can use it for live performances, for installations and all those kind of things. But you can also render stuff. Right. So I'm gonna present you some projects, so maybe you get more of an idea of what I'm doing and what Touch Designer is sort of capable of. So the first thing is I already quickly mentioned that as algorithm. So a version before this was my bachelor project, my bachelor final, as I already said. And I completely redid the whole thing in the beginning of this year. And basically what this is a software inside of Touch Designer that is running and built completely in Touch Designer. And when you run it, then you get this user interface, which just makes it a lot easier and sort of more intuitive to create audiovisual live performances. So you can go ahead and go to my YouTube channel to watch more about this, because I'm not going to go deeply into this. But basically, you're getting a UI with which you can like extract data from audio. You can drag and drop visuals in, like pre-made visuals by yourself or somebody else, and then you can like change the parameters with the audio or with MIDI, or just manually. And you have post effects, you can switch between different visuals and all that kind of stuff. So it's basically, a whole environment for creating visuals live on stage. Right, so another thing I did was a few music videos. So one example is this one, which was actually quite some time ago. And right, I'm not gonna like show the whole thing here, we don't really have the time for that, but basically I created like this sort of microscopic landscape where I created all these camera movements, and it's again all done in Touch Designer, sort of a mixture between like satellite images and noise, and I'm using those as a displacement map. So that was one of the first actual music videos I created. Another shorter clip is this one, where I worked together with another friend who made the music. Same thing was before. And I created a sort of sea creature that is moving to the audio, and so you might get a sense of what I mean with the sort of natural and organic look that I'm trying to create in my work. And a very recent one that I just published like some time ago, like a week ago, is this video, which was quite the challenge, because it's like a sort of jazz fusion, new jazz kind of song, and it has all these different parts, and it was really difficult to extract the meaningful data from that, and also to sort of make one visual that's coherent over the time, but that's also sort of fitting to the different parts of the song. So it's quite the challenge, but also really, really fun to make. And one thing, this hasn't actually been released, so I'm just gonna not really show you much about this, but this is very similar to the one before. So it was also made at the same time, so like this summer, and it was quite a lot of different parts, and I had this, again, the same challenge to like create a visual that fits to the mood and like generally to the song, and that is coherent with all the different parts, but fits to the sort of structure of the song. Right, so that will hopefully be released soon. Another project I did was last year with the Artec House in Washington. So in this case, there was generally like a huge exhibition, but one room was sort of these frames with like images in them, like moving images. And what they wanted to create was the sort of feeling that when you're moving through, you're sort of like a ghost in all these images. So basically, when you're moving through, you're changing the images with your body. So I helped work on that. I didn't do the whole thing, but I came up with ideas and changed a few things and stuff, and made projects like this one. So basically, you had this landscape, and then when you're like moving past it, sort of looks like you're a ghost going through that. And at the end of last year, I did this interactive installation with a bar in Dubai called Iris. And so we had this floor there that was like this 8-meter long entrance. And they wanted to have these interactive particles. So basically we had Kinects at the top, like tracking the people walking over there. And then you could sort of interact with the particles on the floor. So like snowflakes or flowers or whatever. And yeah, it was really fun because it was the first time I actually traveled somewhere and also did some, on ground sort of installation. Yeah, all right. So that's it for the first part. Let's get to the second part now. All right. So part 2. And yeah, we're gonna now leave the sort of realm of all of my work, and I'm gonna sort of talk about more generally about my experience and my thoughts on the whole community that I'm in. So the generative art, the audiovisual art, and the general sort of digital art community. So I'm going to start by sort of trying to compare now versus 20 years ago. The sort of thing about this is I'm only 25, so I was 20 years ago. So I didn't, of course, actively participate in the art scene back then. I was drawing myself, but yeah. Well, but I'm still going to share some thoughts. So I want to start just by saying what I think is very interesting to think about once in a while is that the World Wide Web, so the internet, publicly is really only sort of around 30 years old. And the smartphone is only the smartphone as we see it today is only 10 to 20 years old. And I mean, both of these things are a huge part of our everyday life now. And I think it's absolutely insane that they're just as old as me, sort of. I sort of grew up with the development of these things, and it's just absolutely crazy for me to it's just I can't really imagine living without these things. It might sound a bit sad, but it's also, I don't know, it's just so included in my everyday life that I can't really imagine living without it. And yeah, I think it's really interesting to step back once in a while to just think, okay, the development of the stuff is going so fast. It's crazy. Yeah, so basically, virtually everyone can make digital art now, right? It's super accessible, and there's been so many tools being developed in the last 20 years, or even just the last 10 years. A lot of them free to use, like Processing or Blender, even Touch Designer can be used freely. And of course, there's a lot of paid software out there, but generally, there's just so many amazing tools being developed. I'll talk about that a bit later on. But yeah, it's just become very accessible, right? Even 20 years ago, or if we think further, 50 years ago, the first computers or the first sort of digital art, generative art, was done by scientists or mathematicians, and now it's just really anyone can access it who has a computer and internet, of course. And talking about internet, right? Also, what's changed incredibly is the ability to share artworks, and I think that's really changed the whole scene, because everybody can just upload their works on the internet and technically reach millions of people in an instant, more or less. And yeah, it's very easy, and it's also I don't know, very, very fast, right? So you don't have to have contacts to any kind of, I mean, of course it's better if you do, but technically you don't have to have contacts to a museum or anything like that anymore. You can just upload things and reach a lot of people. And I mean, there's always two sides of the coin, of course, that there's a lot of problems coming with it, but of course that is also, I think that's also a really great thing, especially in this sort of community that I'm in. I really see it as a positive thing in this sort of frame. Yeah, and the thing sort of coming with that is that there's so many learning resources out there, and I'm sort of being a part of it, but I really love the whole idea of just sharing what you're capable of with the world, right? You can just make tutorials, you can post all of your work on GitHub, make collaborations with other people, and talk with them, exchange ideas, and all of that has become quite easy and intuitive. And I just think it's really cool that you are able to learn things like I did myself, like HTML or CSS or even Touch Designer, by not even having to go to university, but being able to access that anytime and to teach yourself. I mean, you should definitely, if you can, go to university if you want to. I think, and I'm very glad that I did. And of course, the one doesn't like sort of replace the other. But I think it's great that you have the opportunity to learn things by yourself or to extend what you're already learning in your university. Yeah, and one thing that's also really greatly changed, and I think again sounds weird maybe, but I think I'm a good example of that, because yeah, that's the methods of payment, right? How are artists being paid today, especially of course again in this field. And so the thing is, I can live by making videos and by sharing what I sort of taught myself, by sharing my art and by doing what I love, which I think, I mean, I'm super lucky, and I'm not saying everybody is able to do that, but the possibility that there is people from all over the world, like everybody giving a bit to me, basically, or to other people, and making it possible for me to live even comfortably with that is I absolutely love that. It's such a great concept. And you know, so basically talking about Patreon, right? There's people each maybe paying like €5 a month, which isn't that much. I'm also like paying other people, and yeah, because a lot of people are doing it, then the person that it's for, you know, gets a good payment. So I think that's a really nice system. Another thing that's really been growing, but I'm not really going to go deeply into that because it's a huge topic and I don't actually know too much about it, but it's the whole blockchain technology and NFTs. So basically, people can now like sell their artworks on digital markets, right? So actually sort of sell it as fine art and get lots of money for it. So if you're sort of interested in the new methods of payment, I would definitely recommend you researching NFTs and Patreon and things like that. Right. So I think, you know, as I'm talking about technology and art, like digital art, I think the main aspect that we have to talk about is the technologies themselves. So we have like a huge number of both new technologies available and technologies now available that are just so much more powerful than, you know, let's say 20 years ago. So that of course has made a huge difference and impact on the way we work with these things and what's even possible, you know. And yeah, I think I want to sort of dive a bit deeper into that and just talk about a few new technologies that I personally think are very interesting and relevant, or becoming more relevant. But yeah, so again, I'm not an expert on this. These are just things that I stumbled upon, and also, like, I can't give you an entire list of stuff that's going on because it's just too much. And yeah, I just sort of want to give you an overview of things that I personally find interesting. So the first thing I want to start with is AI, or artificial intelligence, and that's been a thing that's just grown a lot over the last even just 5 years. That's one of the things where the development is going almost the fastest, I would say. It's just incredible how quickly you see from one like research paper being published to the next, like the amount of like, or the speed of development that's happening there. But I think, yeah, AI is something it's a really tough topic because it's so complex, and I think it also sparks a lot of like misunderstanding of what it actually is. Because I personally think the term artificial intelligence kind of doesn't make a lot of sense because it's in no way an intelligence, and I think the term machine learning fits much better to it, because really what we're doing is we're giving an algorithm a bunch of data, right? A lot of data, and we're just making it do a certain task over and over again, and then the AI sort of learns. We're sort of training it to do something, right? And then it produces really crazy outputs. I mean, I don't want to like talk that down. It's really insane outputs we get there, and also they often seem sort of creepy, and even like there is an intelligence behind that, but yeah, there definitely is not, at least not for now. And yeah, what I also I don't really want to go deeply into that either, but yeah, a lot of these things that are coming out, I think, are very questionable, to say the least, or even kind of creepy or scary in a way. But yeah, I mean, if they're used in a creative context, I think this has like a lot of possibilities, and like yeah, it's just very powerful. But being used in other contexts, it's very questionable. All right, I just want to sort of present a few machine learning examples that I personally find interesting. So the first one is GANs, and this could be like there could be a whole long talk just about GANs. They're also called generative adversarial networks. And basically what they can do is create new data like imagery or text or audio or things like that. So we're basically feeding them, for example, like a data set of millions of faces or thousands. And it's basically learning to create new faces that look like humans, right? So in this example, we all of these images here are not actually real humans, but they're being created by the AI. Another good example, I think, is the website called thispersondoesnotexist.com. So I highly recommend checking that out, since it's really quite eerie going on there. But it's really just an image on there, and every time you refresh, it's a new image of a person. And would you be able to tell that this person is not real? So I certainly would not knowing that, you know, it's not a real person, but it's a person completely generated by a machine learning algorithm. And yeah, it's really you have to know the algorithm, and or even use other AIs to determine whether this is a real image or not. And yeah, I mean, that's really questionable. I'm not sure how that can be used in a good way. I'm mostly just seeing the bad things about that, because it's already been used for like fake profiles to spread misinformation and all that kind of thing. So it's really, I don't know what to think about it. But GANs can, of course, also be used in a good way, or in a creative way, I would say. I'm not sure if this is good or bad, but this is definitely in a creative way. So this example from NVIDIA, you have, I think it's even a website, that you can like draw like an MS Paint or something, right? You can draw this sort of landscape, and then the AI creates a realistic looking landscape based on your input. So I think this is a really cool way to use GANs, and I'm looking forward to sort of seeing more of that kind of stuff, you know, that kind of enables everyone to be an artist or to just have fun, right? Another cool thing with AI is this thing you might have seen around, it's called style transfer. So just very quickly, what it enables you to do basically as an artist or user is to give the AI a base image of often a person, or you know, any photo really, and then another image that's being used as, or that the style is being sort of extracted from, and then the AI creates a completely new image that's really like it would be drawing the first image with the style of the second, right? So I mean, it's kind of self-explanatory. Yeah, with this example here. So another thing you've probably heard about is image recognition, right? So this is not really something that's super new, but it's just something that's just sort of becoming more and more relevant. So usually what we think of image recognition is often like, or at least what comes to mind for me first, is face recognition, which I find is basically, again, only problematic. I mean, we can do all these filters and stuff, but I mean, so it's not only problematic, it can be fun as well, but I see it as very problematic in the way it's being used. But yeah, image recognition, machine learning algorithms can also, you know, recognize sort of anything in an image. So things like here where the AI recognizes this is a car, this is a bicycle, it's a traffic light. And, you know, these are being used in very real circumstances, right? And like, for example, in a self-driving car that needs to sort of be able to see, in a way, what's like in front of them or around them. And then we have things like simulations, which is a whole new topic for itself again. And I highly recommend for all of this AI stuff actually to visit the 2-Minute Papers YouTube channel. This is actually taken from them. But yeah, what we have here is basically just simulations that are very, very realistic, with like very realistic behavior of physical appearances. So like water in this case. And there's many, many great examples on YouTube of AIs or machine learning algorithms now sort of learning in a way, and I honestly have no idea how to sort of mimic the real world in a very realistic way. So it's absolutely crazy what's going on there, and yeah, I don't really see a negative side about that. It's just really, really interesting what's going on there. And one last thing is I feel like I have to mention is the GPT-3. So that's a machine learning algorithm that is quite recent. I think came out last year, and I highly recommend just diving into that yourself if the whole AI world is interesting you, because I can't really explain what exactly it is. But basically, it's a language based like AI, and you can basically converse with it. It can like create websites, you know, like actual websites with you just telling it, you know, okay, do, I don't know, put a search bar here, put a logo there and stuff, just with plain text. So it can often like change something from plain text and something very complex and the other way around. And so it's very, very complex, and I highly recommend you checking that out. So another thing is like a new sort of topic is 3D scanning. And yeah, I think this is really just something cool, something positive. One example is the Quixel Megascan library that's been developing over the last years. And basically what's going on there is that people literally go into the real world, into nature, like they basically scan objects from nature, so like trees or rocks or anything, and also like buildings or just objects in your house or whatever, and yeah, basically what you're getting out of that is really realistic and very detailed 3D assets, like 3D models and textures that you can use for virtual environments basically. And they're being used very, very much in the new Unreal engine, so the Unreal 5 engine, which is a game engine that came out this year basically as a beta version, I think. And yeah, I'm not going to go deeply into this, but I just think it's an amazing example of how quickly technology and like especially virtual environments have like developed in the last 20 years. I mean, comparing this to computer games 20 years ago, it's just absolutely nuts how this is being pushed forward, and what's basically possible in real time now. So again, if you're interested in this kind of things, go ahead and check out Unreal 5 yourself to get a sense of what I mean. And talking about, you know, 3D worlds and virtual worlds, I'm gonna like mention augmented reality and virtual reality. So augmented reality is really just gives you the ability to put like a digital layer on top of the real world, using a camera and you know, geolocation and all that kind of things. I think you're sort of familiar with that probably. That's definitely interesting. The other thing is virtual reality, where you're basically putting on a headset and diving into a completely virtual world. That can of course also be combined with things like what I just mentioned, right? We have 3D scanning, we have game engines that look super realistic. So again, this is something I don't know, has its like good sides and bad sides. Being completely like able to basically completely shut off the real world. I'm not sure what to think about that, and I'm personally not super interested in this, but it's definitely worth mentioning, like the whole development of that. And oops. The other thing is sensors and interactivity, which I briefly mentioned before. But so the first thing is the Kinect, right? We have sensors like the Kinect that can track your body, that can, create a 3D skeleton like here, based on the movements and sort of based on your body that it's tracking, or get all kinds of information like depth information, how far are you away from the camera, all these kind of things. So this is also not super new, but a very, very powerful device. And another thing is the Leap Motion. And basically what this is capable of is like tracking your fingers and sort of, very accurately track your hand movements, your finger joints and all that kind of stuff. So you can use that in a virtual environment or to interact with an artwork, for example. And another thing is, and I've actually worked with all three of these examples, is an EEG or brainwave sensor. So the EEG sensor is something you can put on your head. There's many different devices that have appeared in the last years, and basically it can send data that from your brain waves to your computer, and then you can sort of use that data to manipulate audio or visuals or anything in the digital realm. And I think that there's a lot of potential there. And so far what I've seen hasn't worked super exact, but the idea is technically, if it works well, that you can sort of literally control a visual or an art installation or a software with your thoughts or your emotions or movements or whatever, right? So that's really cool. And okay, screwed up here. All right, last but not least, the new technologies is what I think has, especially because of the whole COVID situation, has really exploded, is the whole streaming and virtual events. Streaming, I don't mean gamers, because I really don't really care about that, but I'm talking about the whole art scene here. And I mean people, also people creating games, of course, but I'm not talking about let's play or whatever, but people actually creating artworks live and streaming their process, sharing how they do things, and all these live events like this one, where people are able to stream videos into the world and sharing their works through that. So I think that's a huge new field that really enables new things, also interactive sort of virtual installations, right? And actual virtual events where you can go into a sort of virtual 3D environment or world, or gallery, right, where you can walk through the 3D environment and look at artworks in there, right, like in this example here, and that sort of combined with the whole virtual reality and Unreal 5 and all that kind of things. So a lot of these technologies are sort of working together, and it's all kind of mixed and mingled. So yeah, I'm personally not a huge fan of these virtual events, but I still think it's super interesting to see how they're developing, and I think they can be used in a very good way as well. All right, so I babbled a lot, just talked a lot about all this kind of stuff that's coming out, and as I said, there's many more things out there, and yeah, these are just to give you sort of an idea. And I think what I sort of have as a problem here is that it's super overwhelming. I mean, it's very exciting what's going on. I don't want to talk that down at all. I think it's super interesting and super interesting time to sort of dive into this whole art scene, or just generally community. But it also can be very overwhelming, and it's kind of hard to, as you might have noticed, judge what is sort of good and bad, right? It's said very simple, or what's something I'm really interested in, what can I use in a meaningful way for my artworks and all of these things. And that's where my last topic comes in. and that is mindfulness. Right, so I'm going to start this by trying to define what mindfulness actually is, because it's really not that easy, and it's sort of this kind of thing that you have to experience to really understand what it means. But basically, what I think mindfulness is just being present and conscious with what is here right now without judging it. So basically being aware of whatever is happening, consciously being aware of what's going on, what you are experiencing in this very moment. So that might be like how are you like just really taking in, how are you sitting here watching this video, or how are you sort of like feeling when you're like scrolling through the web, or how are you like just noticing the sounds around you, or the floor when you're like walking through a forest, or just being aware of how it makes you feel when somebody says something specific to you, or whatever you're experiencing, just being consciously aware of that. And that's sort of like mindfulness in a bigger sense. That's sort of just being present throughout the day. And then meditation is, that they always sort of interlinked, and they're not really that different. But mindfulness, for me at least, is sort of the bigger term for just being present and aware all the time. And meditation is really the practice of learning how to do that. So basically, for me, what that means is that I practice meditation once to twice a day. Usually I meditate 30 minutes in the morning and then 10 to 20 in the evening, but not always. And that just really helps me to just, usually the mind is sort of like jumping around and thoughts are like going everywhere and we're always distracted. And meditation just helps to come back to, the breath, or just, the present. And so that's sort of the practice of learning how to be mindful, of learning how to be with yourself, by yourself, without being distracted, and to sort of just let things happen. And mindfulness is then sort of taking that a step further into your everyday life. And so why am I talking about this? So I want to just sort of bring this into connection with art and technology, because as I said, the whole technology thing can be super overwhelming, and what I'm talking about is not saying I have a perfect relationship to it, but I think it's really important to at least have the intention and sort of trying to keep a mindful relationship with technology, and to sort of be aware of how it makes you feel to like constantly look at news and I don't know, scrolling, as I said already, scrolling through social media, right? So just being aware of what that does with you. And also what's important to me, because I'm, using technology a lot as a means to make art and to sort of express myself, or to really just have fun. What's important for me is like, the whole meditation practice sort of helps me to stay focused with that, to keep going with that, because otherwise I sort of have the tendency to be depressed and like just being worn down by all the bullshit that's going on. So it's basically meditation and mindfulness helps me to sort of let go of all the bullshit, not ignoring what's going on, but sort of more like not being completely pushed down by that, and still focusing on making something creative, something bringing something good in the world, just sort of to keep me going. And as technology is the main sort of way of me to create art, it's really important for me it's important that I keep a good relationship to technology, and that I stay mindful and alert to all the stuff that it's doing with you. And also, because there's all these new things coming out, and I feel like we humans often don't stop to ask whether we should, but we just can, so we just do with all the AI that's going on, right? Especially focused on that. We're pushing so much energy into creating all of these crazy new technologies, and I think we should really often take a step back and ask, do we really need that? Should we really do that? How do I actually feel about doing that? And yeah, so basically, what I'm trying to say with this last topic here is that I think it's really cool what's like going on, and then it's really interesting how the whole technology scene and like digital art scene is like developing. But I also think noticing, for me personally, from my experience, that it's super important to take this step back all the time, and also to take breaks from technology, and also to to just consciously be aware of yourself and how you're like relating to this to all the technology that's going on, basically. So I think that makes sense and gives you something to think about. So basically we have reached the end of this talk, and thanks a lot for watching. If you have come until here, that's quite amazing. So just as a last thought, sort of where I'm personally going, I honestly have no idea. I don't even know what I'm gonna do exactly in 2 months, but it sort of looks like I'm moving more into in the teaching part. So I'm going to teach at universities now, and give more workshops and things like that. What I also want to personally focus more on is actually to express myself, to sort of use the technology more to really show my opinions and my feelings, because for now it's been a lot about learning the technologies and learning how to use certain techniques, and basically making the whole structure. And now I really got to focus more, or want to focus more on content and how to express myself really, and how to show certain emotions with abstract art. So just so you get a broad sense of where I'm going. But I'm definitely going to keep making art, and I'm definitely going to keep sharing stuff. And and if you want to reach out to me, I've got the Instagram and YouTube that you can see down here. You can also write me a mail. You can see that on the channels. And I'm also happy to meet people in person. I'm based in Berlin, right? So if you're around here, hit me up and we can talk about whatever. Right, so thanks a lot for listening and watching, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of the year, and goodbye.
Okay, thank you very much, Bileam, for the amazing and very interesting talk. I can see also in the comments that people really liked it, this new perspective on mindfulness and tech. So yeah, thank you very much again. And now it's time for the workshops to begin. Thank you very much for watching, and
Have fun.
have fun. Yeah.